Of course, it was
So
a little bit shorter.
does it have the effect of suppressing your appetite, or was it just that you were spending so much time doing
I was just
all
spending.
that,
I
so
don't
you
think it
weren't
was necessarily an
eating?
appetite
Maybe you just
suppressor
didn't
like
feel like
cocaine and
eating.
stuff.
Yeah,
It wasn't anything that like straight up makes you not want to eat because
sure.
I still would eat,
Right.
but I was just going so hard. And if I wasn't using, I was sleeping. Don't get me wrong, I would still munch out every now and then, but
Sure.
I wasn't taking care of myself. You're putting a
Right.
bunch of chemicals in your body. Of course, it's going to mess you up. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter how much you eat, how many
Yeah.
Ensure shakes I would drink. I was still just so tiny, and it showed. So, the person that I was seeing at the time, um, basically his mom and my mom kind of like got together and basically like set an intervention on us.
Mm.
And we were the ones selling and stuff too. So we
So you were
went.
out on bond and you're selling drugs, basically. Okay.
Yeah, yes, I was. But they basically planned an intervention for us, and we both went to rehab on the same day at different rehabs. They were like, "This is it. Y'all are either gonna
Wow.
go.
Yeah.
You're either gonna go, and you'll have our support, or y'all are cut. You were out of the
Right.
house, and we didn't have anything. We were living, um, at his family's house,
Right.
and his mom pays for his car, and my family paid for my car. And I was like, well, we can't do this. Like,
Right.
we will not make it.
Yeah.
Like, we were making like $50 a day selling,
Right.
and we have a habit to support. And so I
Right.
was like, I've never been to rehab. Like, I can't do this. And I just remember getting super, super messed up the day before, and then I begged my dealer to come all the way out to Toller because I live right here off Billings,
Mm-hmm.
and I was out, and I literally remember stealing money um, from my stepdad, going in their closet and stealing money, $100, a
Mm.
$100 bill out of his pants that he had
Yeah.
just put on the ground,
Sure.
and being like, I will give you this whole $100, like I'll give you $30 in gas and whatever for the, however many you'll give me.
Right.
And I was just so desperate. I was like, please, 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 please. And then my mom took my phone away from me, and eventually my dealer showed up. My stepdad found out that I stole the money, and I'm like,
Mm.
it wasn't me. You can't prove it was me.
Right.
Like, it wasn't
Right.
me.
Yeah.
And I would just lie straight to their faces, just look them in the eyes and tell them whatever they wanted to hear. And I wasn't a good liar as a kid, so my mom used to always believe me when I would look at her and be like,
Right.
it's not me.
Mm. Yeah.
And that was just the sickness basically playing on the forefront.
Sure.
But she brought it out there, and then the next morning was the morning we were leaving for rehab. I went to the ranch at Clear Springs in Aquila, and he went to a different one. And so I just remember driving over there in the morning, and I saved one for both of us
Mm.
to split
Yeah.
before we went, like one last
Right.
hoorah.
Yeah.
And my mom drove me all the way over into Granbury so that I could say bye, and so we could like part ways and stuff. And we basically did the drugs, and that was it. We took a
Right.
picture to kind of see like a before and after.
Sure.
And I was 18 years old doing my first rehab, and I was not ready. I wasn't done. I was forced
Right.
to be done. I was forced to go in there,
Sure.
and I didn't listen to anything that anybody said. I was in a super I don't want to say toxic because we are cool now. He's doing good and I'm doing good. But at the time we were very toxic for each other. It
Yeah.
was not anything that ever should have happened.
Sure.
We were together because we were both doing the same thing and hanging out with the same crowd.
Right.
And so we just did it together, but it was a very toxic time, and that's the only thing I was worried about the whole time I was in there was him.
Mm-hmm.
I was worried about what he was doing. I was calling my mom. We only got calls like twice a week, and I'm like, have you heard anything?
Right.
Have you heard anything? How is he doing? And then I wasn't focused on myself because I wasn't done. I knew I wasn't done. I was high the same day I left.
Sure.
And so I did a 30-day program. My sister came and picked me up, handed me my phone back. We were in my car.
Right.
We drove all the way back here, and then my mom just tried to, be supportive, and my hair was all super blonde and fried and stuff, and so she had made me an appointment that day to get my hair done.
Right.
And so I went and got my hair done, and then I just remember directly after I got my hair done, one of our mutual friends that used to use with us too, she went with me to my hair appointment, and my mom let me have my car, and we went straight to the dealer's house in Granbury.
Wow. So
Same
can I
day.
ask a quick question? Your rehab was part of that like a detox period as well, or I mean,
Yes.
So I'm assuming you went through withdrawal. I mean, was that just a
Mm,
cold turkey type thing? You just had to deal with it, or was there, I know there are other drugs that some people take, I guess, to get them off of certain
right.
things, but
Yeah, so it wasn't a cold turkey clinic or anything, but it was the first, I think, 4 or 5 days I was in a detox room,
yeah.
and they gave me Suboxone, which is
Okay, yeah.
something that it's like a sublingual
I've heard of
film.
that one, and methadone, I guess, is the other one I'm
Yeah.
aware of. Yeah.
Yep, I will get to that part too
Okay.
because I definitely had my dabble with
Right.
that.
Sure.
But Suboxone, it definitely helped me. It definitely helped like with the process of like my body healing
Right.
because, but I mean, you can't heal the mental part if you're not
Sure.
ready. You're not ready.
Yeah,
My
that's
body
true.
physically got better in 4 days. I
Right.
stopped feeling so crappy and
Right.
all of those things, but I was just so like
I,
headlighted in on it,
right.
and I didn't care.
I guess if relapse was only related to the physical aspect of it, a lot of people
I don't
wouldn't
think I would
relapse,
ever
right?
relapse,
Yeah.
and once
So,
I start feeling better and I start looking better,
right.
who would go back?
Yeah.
But it's a mental like
Yeah.
obsession. I was obsessed with it and I never pictured myself even today. It's like hard to picture like that I was like that. And I mean, I
Sure.
still am like that. I that's a part of my story and it's a part of always who I'll be. That's why I'm so open to talking about it.
Sure.
Because if I can help a 17-year-old girl or a 17-year-old guy that is doing the same thing right now that I was doing, I'm telling you, it does not get better. It gets
Yeah.
way worse. I've lost friends. I've lost, relationships. I've lost family relationships. I wasn't there for funerals that I should have been at.
Mm.
It's you can't get stuff like that back.
Yeah.
And for what? You know,
And at the time, you probably didn't care at
I
all,
did
right?
not.
That you missed whatever you missed. I
No,
mean, it was all
I
about
wanted to sleep.
something else. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to take a nap,
Yeah.
so I missed it. But so I went to the rehab and then I got out after 30 days, was high the same day I got out and kind of just kept on going. And then I got a call from Hood County. I think it was on my 19th birthday. Uh, they called my dad actually because my dad knows my bail bondsman.
Mm-hmm.
They called my dad saying Hood County has dropped Kate's charges because whatever was in those caps is not illegal yet.
Mm. Wow. Yeah.
There we go again. I
Yeah.
was like, can't touch me,
Right.
And so I was like, okay. And then 90 days later, they passed it as an illegal substance.
Wow. Yeah.
And then it went away. So I mean, the thing about those caps and the synthetic fentanyl and all these things is the dealers change it one molecule off
Yeah.
of the original that they made illegal. And then they start producing like a different version, something that does something a little bit different, but will still get you hooked.
Yeah.
And then, people can get busted with it, but at the end of the day, they're going to get off and they're going to get their charges cleared because it's not technically legal because you break it down into a chemical aspect and that isn't illegal.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
how people were getting around it. The drug was getting weirder and stranger, and but like we kept on doing it because the physical part was still there.
Sure.
But they dropped my charges, and then I started to get a little bit better. I started to do it a little bit less, and then I actually started hanging out with some of my old friends again. And I have pictures from this time.
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever I was turning 19, I got my first part of my tattoo done. I was hanging out with the right type of people, and I stopped.
Right.
I stopped. I was still drinking. I wasn't smoking. I wasn't doing anything because that's my friends don't do that.
Sure.
They're normal in a sense.
Right.
But I stopped. I really did for a little bit, and then I don't know. I don't know what it was with me. I switched back into it. Like I went back and forth. That's why like my story is it's not unique, it's not different, it's just mine, but
Sure.
it's weird how looking back at it, like I could just be like, oh, I'm done, I want to hang out with these people, and I was like a chameleon. I would do whatever anybody else wanted to do,
Right.
and if they weren't cool with the drugs, I like would wean myself off and just get super drunk for a couple days, and then like the withdrawals would be over,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just kind of be low-key miserable because I wanted the drugs, but I
Sure.
wanted to hang out with them, so I
Yeah.
was just all around miserable, just not happy. Me and my boyfriend, we broke up, and then I just switched back into it real quick. Like I just one day like dropped everything and went back to the caps and got back into it really really hard, and then all of a sudden one day they just disappeared. And this is about the time that one of my friends passed away. He was
When you
so
say, oh, your source for your drugs, is that what you
just
mean?
they
They
just
they were
stopped.
gone.
They were
Okay.
gone.
Yeah.
Um, that's about one of the time. That's the time that one of my friends my first friend passed away
Mm. From an
from
overdose.
an overdose.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, and he he was really deep into it. He was selling too, and I was supposed to go up there that night, and I fell asleep. Um, and he passed away from an overdose. Apparently mixing things, but he passed away, and I did go to that funeral. I
Right.
was there for that one. It was here in Toller. Uh, but it wasn't enough to make me stop.
Right.
I literally had caps at his funeral in the
Mm.
bathroom
Yeah.
in the church. And so kept on going and kept on going, and then all of a sudden one day they just disappeared. The dealers stopped answering. The people that dealed under the dealers were running out, and obviously they're using too, and they're like,
Right.
they're mad too because they're
Sure.
withdrawing. And then I had a friend who he's doing good now too, so no ill will, but I'm just gonna be honest because I'm sure if he ever watches this, he'll know. But he was like, and I was like, why are you not sick? Like, I'm
Yeah.
over here dying. Like, like we're trying to figure out how to get it. And so I went to his house. I'm like, do you know anybody? Like, I will pay $100 for one. I don't care. Like, I'll
Right.
do whatever I have to do. I was pawning stuff. I pawned my mom's jewelry. Like, I did everything. Like, I sold like, I would go to the pawn shop every day over here off 377. And he's like, hey, what you got
Yeah.
today?
You were a
Like, where did you
regular.
find
Yeah.
this?
Right.
And I was like, how are you not sick? I'm over here like chills, sweating, shaking, like just terrible, throwing up, doing so many things. And he's like, I have something else. He's like, but I don't know if you're gonna be into it. And I was like, I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
That desperation,
If it makes me not sick, then
yeah, that
right. Yeah.
desperation. And it wasn't. I mean, you've never experienced a physical addiction. I hope you never have to because it will bring you to your knees. And it has and kept me there for a really long
Well, is
time.
that? I'm glad you bring that up. Maybe you can share. Is that? I know there's the psychological aspect of what it does
Right.
to you, but the physical part. I got to believe that part of it is also. If you've ever gone through a withdrawal, you probably don't want to. So, I mean, do you believe that also keeps you, you know, taking the drugs
Absolutely.
because not only do you like the feeling, you don't want to go through the withdrawal. I mean,
Yeah.
is that an accurate
It
way
is.
of looking at it?
My a thing that I used to say all the time was, I'm not even getting high anymore. I just don't want to withdraw. I
Yeah,
don't want to get sick.
right,
It's like if you're on a spectrum from 1 to 10, and then over here is the negative. Whenever I would wake up in the morning, I would be in here in the negative,
right,
and I would just have to do some to get back to 0 to be okay. I wasn't getting high anymore. I
right.
was not getting messed
Yeah,
up. I was just getting well, is what we would always
right,
say. I just need to get well and I'll be good.
right.
I'll be good. Like I can
Yeah,
do my day. And that's what my world revolved around, was getting well. And I was terrified of the withdrawal because it hurts. It hurts
sure.
physically, it hurts emotionally, it hurts, spiritually. It
Yeah,
just hurts. It's the worst thing ever. I've never experienced anything like it. There's nothing on this earth that has
right.
been worse.
Can't even imagine. Yeah,
It's insane. And if you've never been through it,
you don't
just
want to go
you
through
do
it, do you?
not want to.
Right.
um, but I forgot where I was even at in the story.
So you were talking about that. You were kind of with different friends now, but the your source
Oh, okay.
for the fentanyl or the synthetic fentanyl had kind of dried up, and you
Right.
were trying to find you found someone that said there was something else that they were trying.
Okay. Yeah. And so I was like, so what is it? Like, I don't care. I like, who are you talking to? Like, I'm down for
Yeah.
anything. And they pulled out some syringes, some
Wow.
needles.
Mm,
And I was like, I'm terrified of needles. Like, I don't, like, I barely could
sure.
do this tattoo. It's not my
Yeah.
thing. Like, I did not like it. Um, I cry when I have to get shots or my blood drawn at the doctor.
Sure.
And he was like, well, it's heroin. And I was like, oh, no, not me. Like, I don't do
Wow.
heroin. Like,
Yeah.
that's lowest of the low. I would
Right.
never, could never. And he was like, okay. And I just watched him, like, do one. And then I just like, it's like the blood comes back into your face. It's
Mm,
insane what that stuff will do to your
yeah.
body. It changes your reward system in your brain.
Yeah.
Makes you think that this is good, this is what you want, this is what you need. Like it literally changes the chemical makeup of your mind,
Mm-hmm.
your opiate receptors and stuff, and just it really will. It can screw you up for forever with your reward system and what you think you need. It takes years of undoing. But I just saw him and like it just clicked for me. Like I want that.
Because you saw what it did to him,
And I
literally,
wanted it.
physically.
And I'm
Yeah.
over here, like can't stop wiping my nose. Whenever you
Right.
withdraw, you yawn all the time and it hurts and you're stretching and it's just like your skin's crawling and you're kicking your legs and
Mm.
you're so fidgety. And that's in the beginning stages. But I was like, I don't care. And so we were in my car. We parked in a parking lot at an apartment complex in Granbury. Neither one of us lived there, but we thought it'd be a good place to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I whipped into a parking spot and I parked and I just like put my arm over into the passenger seat and I said, just do it.
Mm.
And like I just remember like sitting there thinking like, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. You'll be fine here in a second. Like a little bit of pain, worth it, right?
Yeah.
And this sounds, I'm not trying to glamorize or anything, but at the time it was worth it.
Yeah.
For me.
Sure.
And that was it. I was done.
You were hooked, in other words?
Yeah,
or...
I was well again.
Yeah, right.
And that's all I needed to get me going for the next 3 or 4 hours until I could figure out how to get some more.
Right.
And so it was off to the races. At this time, I started dabbling with shooting up cocaine, which is a whole another ballpark.
Yeah.
Because I liked uppers, mind you, at the beginning. Like I liked the uppers, but the heroin was what was keeping me well.
Right.
And I had no charges on me at this time. I had been to rehab and gotten out already and screwed up again. And basically just doing whatever, working, getting fired, working at a place, getting fired. They knew they got fired.
Yeah.
I would just bounce around from bar to bar in Granbury. I've worked just about everywhere that you can in Granbury.
Right.
Bartending, literally.
Right, yeah.
Serving, bartending, restaurants, you name it. I've probably been there.
Right.
They're probably like, when I walk in now, they're like, oh my God, you look so much better.
Yeah.
Where was that a couple years ago?
Right.
But so that I kept on going with that, and I kept on going with that, and then that's in October of 2017. I decided to move up to Dallas to go to cosmetology school while I'm, doing heroin.
Right.
And I wanted to get away, and I didn't have a spouse or anything like that, and I thought I can do this. Like there would be drugs in Dallas, blah 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 blah.
Sure.
I got mine from Fort Worth, mind you.
Yeah.
We were driving to Fort Worth from Granbury every single day. I was getting up, going to work, serving, bartending. I was getting up, I was working to get high and getting high to work. Like it was a cycle. I got off work like every night at like 11 o'clock once they closed at 10. And me and my friend, we worked together at the same restaurant, me and him. And we would get off work and phew, we would go to Fort Worth.
So you're still also, I guess, getting some of that and bringing it back and being a source for other people? Or at that point, had you stopped doing that? I
stopped doing that. I did not have enough. I didn't have
it all
enough
for
money.
yourself. Yeah.
I was selfish. I wanted it all for myself. I was even stingy about doing some with the person that I was with.
Right.
Because I had the car and
Sure.
I was the one driving, and you should give me some.
No.
Even though I was going anyways. It was just crazy. But I never really got into selling. If somebody like wanted some like cocaine, we were really like it was a very small group of people that was shooting up heroin.
Right. Yeah.
Like actually shooting up heroin. There was like 4 of us.
Yeah.
But the cocaine people in Granbury would like snort it as parties and stuff, but like we were they didn't know that we were shooting it. But if they wanted some, like I would get the money from them.
Right.
I would get it and I'd bring it back, but I wasn't just like I didn't have a scale and wasn't dealing.
I'm just curious. Did it ever? I mean, probably not the first time, obviously, and maybe never. But did it ever occur to you that you were, also potentially exposing yourself to, HIV and those type of things?
So I wasn't very well educated on that.
Okay. It
wasn't really a conversation.
I'm not saying people don't talk about it necessarily, but.
And now, which we'll get into that, being through what I went through here recently, we got educated on it. Every Monday was HIV and AIDS Day.
Right. Yeah.
And I did that for 10 months,
Wow.
So.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize how easy it was to contract. I was sharing needles. I mean, that's just me being honest.
Sure.
I was sharing needles. I was sharing spoons. The cottons that we would use. I thought, hey, there might be some more of that later when I get sick. We would share cottons, and then I'd like put them away, let them dry out so I wouldn't get
Now
cotton
tell me,
fever.
because I'm ignorant about this part. What's the
Right.
cotton part for?
So the cotton part is
Are we
for
talking about literally cotton, like a cotton
like a cotton
ball?
swab.
Okay,
hmm
yeah,
Yeah, you break a little piece off and then you would put it into the spoon after you
okay,
put the drugs into there with water.
right.
That's what you heat up into the
Oh,
spoon.
okay,
You put
okay,
the cotton in there to filter before you
okay,
draw it up into the syringe.
okay,
And so it has an amount,
okay,
in there.
right,
So I'd put those out to dry out because
right,
I thought maybe later I might want that.
right,
Like it was
okay,
just
sure,
fiending for it. But we kept on going with that, working, doing all these things, going back and forth. And then one of my other friends passed away that we used with
mm,
heroin, and his was Xanax too, shooting up heroin and Xanax. I lost another one, and I missed the funeral for that.
wow,
And I saw him almost every day, not dealing, using with him, running
right,
around with him. And I remember me and him would just have conversations like, he would tell me, like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, my life sucks and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, like mine does too. I hate this, but what can we do? We would buy Suboxone from dealers.
yeah.
You need like 5 or 6 strips of them. We would buy one and be like, okay, we'll split it up in a
To
couple.
try to get
Yeah. And
off, yeah,
we would, make that commitment to stop. And then, oh, well, we'll get another one tomorrow next time we go up and get some more, black or heroin. And so we were just going round and round and round with that, and he passed away. And I've still
mm,
got messages from him about how he doesn't want to do this
sorry to hear
anymore.
that, yeah,
Yeah, and I remember getting so high the night before his funeral, and I woke up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I missed it.
mm, yeah,
And everybody was texting me, "Where are you? Where are you? Where are you?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I was sleeping." I told him it was too much for me,
right, yeah,
but in all reality, I fell asleep.
sure,
I was
yeah,
crashed out at a friend's house. And so I kept on going with that. And then I moved up to Dallas. I moved up to Dallas, and he passed away once I'd already moved to Dallas. I'm just trying to get the timeline
sure,
right. But I was living in Dallas. I started school. Was having to get high like during breaks and stuff. I had it made for me. Like my mom and my dad did everything that they could because they thought that I was better. I don't know
right,
how or why they
sure,
thought I was better,
yeah,
but because I wanted to do something, I just wanted to show them I could. Um, I lived on top of the school that I went to in a high rise apartment on the 16th floor. That was
wow,
beautiful.
yeah,
Brand new, had never been lived in. We got a construction deal on it because they were still finishing them.
right,
Had a rooftop view of the skyline of Dallas, a pool, like just any amenities. They had a golf
sure,
room in there, a
wow,
golf simulator.
yeah,
It was insane.
right,
And I wasn't happy.
right,
I was driving, I couldn't find any drugs in Dallas that I liked
right,
because I switched from like tar heroin to China.
mm,
So I was driving to Fort Worth every single night
yeah,
and driving over there, getting it, getting back at 3 o'clock in the morning, doing a bunch of drugs, passing out, and I had to go to school at 8 o'clock in the morning. And
wow,
it's just
yeah,
like, eventually I fell off. Like I just stopped going. I remember like the director for the school always like texting me, calling me like, "Hey, are you coming? Like
mm,
you've missed. Like you're fixing to like lose. We're fixing to kick you out."
right,
Like, oh, I'll do the makeup groups. I've got a lot going on at home. Like I've got family problems. I don't have family problems.
right,
I am the family
yeah,
problem.
yeah,
um, but they tried to work with me. They knew. I mean, I just remember the girls at school. One of the girls I was cool with, she was like, "Yeah." One of the girls was saying like, "I think Kate's on drugs," and I'm like, "What?
mm,
That's ridiculous." She's
yeah,
like, and I had her fooled too, and I feel so bad. And I'm like, "Yeah, I know that's so ridiculous." She's like, "Yeah, I know. Like, you're just so cool. Like, you're just laid back. Like, you're not on drugs. You're just you." And I'm like,
right,
"Yeah, this is just me. How dare them?
mm-hmm,
They just knew."
right,
But God, it's crazy. And so I went through all that, and I kept on going and going and going. And this was October, November 2017, December. Um, and then I came home uh, for New Year's, December to
right,
January, going into 2018. And my mom, like, found needles in my car
mm,
when I came down, and she shut everything down. because I already got kicked out of school. You know, I
Right,
told her, like,
right,
I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. But I want to live in Dallas. And she's like, I'm not going to pay for you to be in that
right.
apartment.
Yeah,
It's, $1,300 a month for a
sure.
1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. And I
Right.
was like, well, whatever. And so we did an early release on the lease, but she found out when I came down here. She found needles in my car. She found all these things, and she shut it down. She locked me down. I was stuck.
Yeah.
I detoxed in my room off of heroin
Wow.
for a day. And then I was finally like, I can't do this. Like, we're going to have to do something. Like, I will die, Mom. I will die.
Yeah.
And so I think January, uh, no, it wasn't for New Year's. It was the end of January because January 28th was my intake date at the methadone clinic.
Mm.
So it was like end of January whenever I came down. Um, January 28th of 2018 was the intake day that I started taking
Is that in
methadone.
Fort Worth or where you
It was
went?
in Fort Worth.
Okay.
It is an everyday clinic you go to and you take your dosage. Methadone is a supplement to try and help you get off of heroin.
Right.
It's a medical thing. It's a liquid that you have to go in and get your dosage correct. Make sure that you get you work your way up. You start low, and then for the first week, like you're getting to your correct dosage until you don't have to be sick anymore. Then you stay at that, and over time you can dwindle down. It's supposed to
Right.
be a safer way to get off of heroin. And for a little bit, it was. I was only doing the methadone because my mom was going with me
Right.
back, and it just.
You had some accountability
I had some
there.
accountability, some
Right.
forced accountability. When I was going up to the methadone clinic, it just happened to be right next to my drug dealer's house.
Oh no.
And my mom had no idea. It was
Right.
off Camp Bowie.
Okay.
And the people up there are amazing too. I actually stopped in and saw them not too long ago.
At the clinic, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did that from January. And keep in mind, like, I had the accountability in the beginning and I was only doing the methadone. But then when my mom started to trust me again, she gives me a little bit of rope to hang myself with.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to the dealers and I went back to going and getting the coke. And then I would go to the methadone clinics in the morning, have all my drugs, and get back and go to work and do it all again the next day.
Mm.
And methadone clinics drug test you. They will not deny you medication if you fail a drug test, which I always did.
Mm.
But I signed the HIPAA thing saying they can't tell my mom anything
Okay.
because
Yeah.
I was
Sure, you were an adult at that
I
point.
was an adult.
Yeah.
So I thought.
Yeah.
But so my mom's like, why aren't you getting take homes? Like after a certain amount of time, you start to get, a take home, so you don't have to go every single day. And I'm like, I don't know, it's crazy, I don't know. And whenever she would call the office, they're like, we can't release any information.
Right.
I'm sorry, we know it's your mom, but that's literally we're not allowed to. And so I kept on doing that, getting the heroin, getting the cocaine, and I kind of stopped with the weed, and I stopped with the alcohol because it would make me sick.
Right.
And it cost too much money.
Sure.
I had my two things that I wanted.
Right.
And I made sure I got those. I got the
Right.
heroin first and foremost. That was non-negotiable. If I had
Yeah.
extra, I'd go get the cocaine because I liked the upper, but I needed the heroin to bring me down so I could sleep.
Yeah.
But the heroin was on the forefront. And I kept on going with that, and then we're going into February, March, April. And April 2018 is whenever I didn't get pulled over. I fell asleep in the old Taco Bueno parking lot here in Granbury
no.
before it turned to a Golden Chick.
Right.
I did a shot. I was waiting on my friend to get off of work. One of my good friends, like she's
Right.
not a bad friend, but waiting on her to get off of work, and I was trying to do it before I went and hung out with her.
Right.
So I pulled over, and mind you, my mom's office is right next to that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I didn't pull into my mom's office. My car wouldn't have got towed.
Right.
But I pulled into the Taco Bueno parking lot. I did a shot, and next thing I know, I'm waking up to
someone knocking on the window.
And I was mad at first. I was like, shh.
Yeah.
I thought it was Emily. I was like, oh crap, now I'm gonna have to explain this to her. And it was an officer. It was two. I was like,
Right.
oh my God. And I've got a needle hanging out of my arm.
Oh my.
And a spoon.
Yeah.
And all these other things. And he was like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm good, thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Like putting stuff
Right.
away. And I had done all of the drugs already. I'd finished it.
Wow.
I had a little bit left with what was in the spoon.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, why don't you go ahead and roll down your window for me? And I was like, I'm okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm just tired. I just got off work. You see I have my work shirt on. I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to go. And he was like, no, you're not.